Hello, going over another example again. I already have gone over with you requirement number 2 for an example. And now this is requirement number 7, specifically the character citizen section, answering the part about family and what families would look like in the world that I have created. So just a little bit of background about the world that I have created is this world called Let It Be. Basically, the idea is to let people live the life that they want to live without hurting anybody else. So, as you follow along with me, you'll get to learn a little bit more about this world, this new world that I have envisioned, that I have fictionalized based off of our life now. And a lot of it too is also based off of movies. So stick with me. I will kind of walk through with you my process just as I did in my video for requirement number 2. If you didn't watch that one, I would suggest watching that one because this one is a little bit different than that. Okay, this section, I went through a similar type idea. I just opened up a new document and I copied requirement number 7, word for word, copied it from my directions in part 1, the writing of the declaration, where it listed all of those requirements 1 through 9. I just copied and pasted this right from there. So one of the things that you'll notice though, after I copied and pasted it, I started looking at the questions that were asked underneath this family section. And then I noticed that I could kind of group the questions into categories. So I saw these 3 questions, and those kind of made me feel like it was talking about the types of families. So I decided I wanted to create a heading called types. And so as we start looking at my example, you'll see I've divided mine into headings, which you could absolutely do in this type of writing. This type of writing is going to be different than my example number 2. Example number 2 was explanatory writing, and this one is much more of the fictionalized explanatory or fictionalized analysis, which is a form of explanatory writing, except for this time you're explaining a fictionalized world based off of your ideas and what you wanted. So anyways, to continue, I'll show you my example here in just a second. I divided the first section, looks like I could name that types. So that's what I named it. I looked at the next 3 questions, and those kind of seemed like they'd fall under the category of housing. The next questions under that, those looked kind of like they might be what we would call values. And then the next 2 questions that I decided to answer seemed like those would be like behaviors and interactions. So again, these have become like my headings just to make it a little easier to organize my writing so that I make sure that I answer at least 80% of these questions. Now you'll notice I did not highlight these 2. The reason I didn't highlight those is because I decided I wasn't going to answer those. There were 10 questions. On my directions, I said that you should answer 80% of the questions that were asked if for that guideline. So I decided I'm not going to answer those 2 questions. I didn't really want to. So I'm going to answer the other ones. All right, so let's go on. Let's continue. So underneath, you will see my example. Like I said, keep scrolling. And mine is very long. I know you're shocked that I went over the top and gave you a lengthy explanation, but I want you to be able to see a variety of different options and examples for what you can do. Okay? Keep in mind, the more you describe to us about your world, the more we're going to understand it. And the more that we understand something, then we can make a decision based off of what we understand. Okay, so it's your responsibility as the inventor of this new world to describe enough and to have thought enough about what your world is going to be like so that we can make an informed choice. Okay, so you want to put that picture and that vision into our head. And so this type of writing is a great place for you to include links to videos, for you to include movies or characters from movies. You'll notice that I did some of that in my writing here when we dive into that in just a moment. It's a great opportunity for you to kind of, if you like different parts of the world, mesh them all into one, and it's in this new world that you have created. But this is where you give us a picture of what it's like to live in this world that you have created. So let's go through. Again, I'm going to walk you through my process just a little bit. I'm not going to go through all the little nitty gritty stuff. I'll let you do that on your own, but I do want you to kind of get an idea of how you can approach this. Okay, so let's look at my example. So if it were me and I was a student, this document starting right here is what I would have linked into the grading contract, since this is my requirement number 7, characterization section. Okay, so this would be family life. That's under the characterization section in Let It Be. Remember, Let It Be is the name of my new world. Again, I put who it was by because I am the author. So the first question that I was answering is that category, that big overall category called types. Now, when I am done, I'm going to erase this question. I don't need it. I won't need it any longer. But while I am writing, I had it in here so I can keep my writing focused on answering the questions that were asked. Those questions that were asked are the requirements, and I want to make sure that I'm meeting those requirements. Okay, so here I'm going to describe for you the types of families in the new world, Let It Be. In the world of Let It Be, families can look however you want them to. You have the freedom to choose the family you want to have and the life you want to have, so long as it doesn't hurt yourself or anybody else. Some families will choose to have a mom who makes most of the decisions. And this is where I really started to have fun. I know some of you know that I have shared with you that my family and I have had our struggles. I have not had the type of mom that I think I had always wanted. So this was my chance to kind of make families have this really warm and loving and nurturing, supportive mom. And so when I thought of that, I thought of this character from one of my all-time favorite movies, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And so I knew I had to include moms like her in this world that I was making. So I'll continue. In the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, typo, the mom, Maria, advises her daughter who is about to marry that, quote, the man may be the head of the house, but the woman is the neck. Now, you'll notice I have a link in right here because what I did is I found that clip from the movie and I included it here in my example. The reason I did that is because I wanted you to get a feel for who this woman was as a character and the warmth that she had and how protective she was of her daughter and how she really advocates for her daughter by getting her husband to let her daughter do what she wants to do, which is to do more and be more. And I love that. So I wanted to include that here for you to take a look at. You can look at that at your leisure, but that really would give a picture to someone or, have that in their mind, that image in their mind of the types of moms you would see in my world, Let It Be. Okay, so let's keep going. If the woman is the neck, then really the woman is the decision maker of the home. And here I had to do some research. In Greek culture, women are typically in the backgrounds and subservient to their husbands. However, in the movie and in Let It Be, the woman could be the matriarch. Now, they don't have to be, but they could. That is one of the options. And if they are, or they would be, I'd want them to be like Maria from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Maria Portokalis, a heavyset woman with a Greek accent, makes sure everyone around her is taken care of. She forces people to eat even if they don't want to, because she wants to nourish their bodies and nurture their souls with the love that she pours into her food. Maybe that's why I like to cook so much, and I always am asking my kids if they want food. You guys hungry? What do you need to eat? She tells her daughter, Tula, she could snap you like a chicken, eat. I just can hear her saying that in the movie, to get her to eat the food she made. Though her daughter was clearly annoyed, she understood that her mom was looking out for her. And if she would do that with food, then when she was faced with something more challenging, like asking to go to college despite her father's insistence against it, then she would know her mom would support her. Again, I really want families in my new world, Let It Be, to be very supportive of one another, even if they may be, they have their typical disagreements, because people do. That's what it's like when you have relationships. No matter what, though, no matter what the disagreement is, they still have each other's back. And I really wanted to give a sense of that in my world. Then, at one point in the movie, Tula asks her father if she can take classes at a local college. Her husband doesn't want her to be educated, but Maria insists and advocates for her daughter. Voila! Tula was allowed to go, and once she started attending a few classes, she blossomed into a more confident woman, which resulted in her engagement to a non Greek man, Ian, whom they welcome into their loud and loving Greek family. You'll notice I have another link in here because it's a wonderful clip from the movie where they are kind of bringing their two cultures together, and they're kind of having a little bit of trouble understanding one another. But you'll see the love and the willingness to include Ian and his parents into this really warm and loving Greek culture, even though they're all in each other's business and in each other's lives. It's because they want to look out for one another. So I love that, and I wanted to include that in my new world. The warmth and love Maria Portocalis exudes is the kind of love mothers should give to their children and to their spouses. You knew you would come home and would be greeted with a warm meal to soothe not just your belly, but also your soul. That's the kind of mom I want to be, and that's the kind of mom that I would like to have in my world. In countries like Mexico, you find that most households to be patriarchal, or run by the father or grandfather who is responsible for making the decisions and money for the family, while women are to tend to the children and household. Again, I had to do some research to figure that out. In Let It Be, my new world, if the family chooses to follow a similar setup as current Mexican culture, then their fathers would be in charge of the family. The fathers in Let It Be would be like Batman. I don't know if I've ever told you, but I've always liked Batman movies. Always. There's just something about a superhero movie, but particularly Batman, that I have always liked. So that's why I want fathers to be like Batman, but a specific one of the Batman. Okay. For instance, in The Dark Knight Rises, we see Batman take on the ruthless Bane. That one was one of my all-time favorite Batman movies. And so I really wanted it to be like this form or this version of Batman. Okay. Again, you'll notice I have a link in here, so you can kind of see this fight scene between Bane and Batman and how Bane just totally destroys him, and fights him and is more aggressive and stronger than Batman is. But he is physically, but not mentally. So let's keep going. You can look at that again if you want at your leisure. So a ruthless Bane, a child born in a prison so terrible that only one person, a child, was able to escape. And that person was Bane. In an effort to torture Batman, Bane defeats him in a battle, dislocates vertebrae in his back, then forces Batman to watch Bane and his team destroy Gotham City, while Batman was powerless and unable to do anything about it. So notice I'm just summarizing the movie just a little bit, so people can get a sense of who Batman was in that version of the Batman movies, especially if they haven't had any experience reading or watching, rather, the Batman movies, specifically that one. At one point, Bruce asks Bane why he did not just kill him. Bane taunts Bruce that he intends to kill his soul first, making him witness Gotham City's downfall. Bane promises Bruce that he'll live at least long enough to see Gotham destroyed, and that only when he is done and Gotham is in ashes will he give Bruce permission to die. Now, I needed to take that summary from IMDb, a movie website. International Movie Database is what it is. And so I am going to have to cite that I took that quote directly from there. But I wanted to give an idea of what Batman was up against and how strong and powerful Batman is. And again, that goes along with the type of fathers I would like to have in my new world, Let It Be. What Bane didn't anticipate, however, is the resolve of Batman. Through excruciating pain, he managed to heal, then escape the impossible to escape prison, a deep circular shaft with the only way in or out being by climbing the stone walls. Though many attempt it, they often fail to clear the final jump onto a ledge required to escape, instead falling and being slung into the brick walls on the sides of the shaft, severely wounding them. I don't know if I like how that's worded. I might have to edit that. But Batman was able to find in himself the strength to find a way to land on the ledge and escape back to Gotham. And this is actually that movie clip too, so you could kind of see what he was up against in that circular shaft that led into the prison, and how he had to jump from that one ledge to the other ledge to be able to escape and get out. So I wanted you to be able to see like the strength and the determination, not just the physical strength, but really more that mental strength and the willingness to push through things that are difficult. That's the kind of father I want in my world. We learn from Batman's struggles in this movie that we must learn to rise. You might be in the depths of unthinkable pain or distress, but we must rise. We must. This kind of example from a role model is the kind of father figures who have run the house and let it be. No one and nothing will stop the fathers from loving and protecting their families. Whoever runs the family, citizens of Let It Be will remain protective and nurturing of each other, especially their children, while upholding the motto, live the life you want to live, so long as it doesn't hurt yourself or anybody else. Now, again, that was a very long section, included some video clips and some pictures to give you an idea of the types of people who I would have running the households. But I left those in there. I left it lengthy for you to kind of get some ideas of what you could possibly do. Now, the next section, let's go back up. I already talked about types, okay? The next section is about housing. So I'm going to go through, and I'll go through this one briefly so you can kind of see an idea of what I did with housing. These were the 3 questions that I would have to answer. What kinds of housing do you offer? Does everyone in each family live in the same dwelling? Why or why not? How long do kids live with their families? So you'll notice here I took a little bit of a different approach. I included some pictures from different countries in Europe where kids live with their families a lot longer than they do here in the United States. One of the things that I was mentioning in my writing here is that families live together until they're 25, regardless of their career choices. So even if they're already off and working, they are still going to be living with their families until they're 25. One of the things that I found through my research was this. Research suggests that most human brains take about 25 years to develop, which would indicate most people are unable to be fully independent until then. So in order to protect young adults from making decisions when their brain and decision-making skills are not fully matured, then keeping them home while they are trying to learn how the real world works would keep them from making potentially disastrous, life-altering decisions that might forever alter the course of their lives. You'll notice I got another link in here for you, another video to go into more of that brain research to support why I would want kids to live with their parents until they were 25. So yes, is it fictional in this world that I'm creating of Let It Be that they would live with their families until they're 25? Yes, that part is fictional, but it is based on real research, and that real research is the evidence here that I have included with how the brain works and the importance of waiting until you're older to be able to make some important decisions. Again, not going to go through all of this with you, but then one of the things that I wanted to address is one of these questions that said, do they each live in the same dwelling? Why or why not? What types of dwellings would they live in? Citizens can have their choice of where to live. We offer a variety of places to live. You can live in the country, show you some videos of the types of country that they would live in. You could live in a farmhouse. This gives you like a tour of the types of houses you might see if you choose to live in a farmhouse. A barndominium. This is pretty cool. Again, goes through a video tour of a barndominium you could live in Let It Be. If you don't want to live out in the country, then you have the option of living in a busy metropolis, which is a city. This gives you a little bit of a tour of what you might see if you chose to live in the city. Cafes, you could see musical shows. You could go kayaking at sunrise, then grab brunch at a trendy restaurant. You also get to get a little bit of a feel of the terrain in Let It Be. There's the mountains. You can watch kind of a view of what it would look like in the mountains and Let It Be. There's ATV trails. You would have a small little downtown. We have like a main street. You could also live in a suburb if you don't feel like living in either the city or the country, kind of want to have something in between. You even could live in a tiny house if you wanted, or a shipping container where you spend your evenings stargazing, looking up at the Milky Way because there's not a lot of ambient light, and you're able to see the stars perfectly. But again, you can live wherever you want, however you want. I'm kind of going fast, but I want you to look through just briefly the rest of where I'm going here. Again, I'm not finished. I'm in the work. It's a work in progress for me. But what I wanted to show you before we're done here is this section about values. It's important that you think about what your world values. Do they value independence? Do they value following rules? Do they value everybody being the same? Do they value freedom? Those are the things that you need to think about. So, in mine, some things that I was focused on is having these strong family with comfort and being accepted for who they are, and they'll be more willing to take risks if they feel accepted. People here in Let It Be will value themselves more than anyone else, and they'll take the time to explore who they are by trying lots of different activities and figure out who they really are, instead of idolizing people on through technology, specifically in our world now through TikTok, Snapchat, that kind of thing, and Instagram. Instead of that, idolizing people doing that kind of thing, they'll value and idolize people who have gone through difficult things and who have risen to the challenge instead of people who maybe just make silly videos. I do have some things where I wanted to add in some quotes. I have some more research that I found. I just need to figure out which parts of that research I want to include. Families will value time spent playing games instead of watching others playing professional sports. In our current world, one of the problems that I see is we spend a lot of money and time encouraging athletes to make millions and millions of dollars, but we're the ones watching, not actually playing. And I would love and let it be for people to play with one another, play games, play sports, be engaged with one another instead of watching others just for entertainment. Okay, but again, see, current world problem, fixing it in my fictional world, my new world. Next, families would value nature instead of destroying it. I've got some research here that I wanted to include. I actually watched an interesting Netflix documentary that where I can kind of include some of that here, and I'll have to put the link down in the bottom as well. Their lifestyles will be modest and not too fancy, which will allow families to spend less time working to make money and more time enjoying leisurely activities and downtime. And this would give families an opportunity to experience more creativity and therefore more happiness. I have some more brain research here about the importance of doing exactly that. And the next section is about behaviors and interactions. Again, I have not finished that section yet. I have some notes written down for what I want to talk about, but I am working on, if those are the things that we value, here's the types of behaviors and interactions in the community that you would see in our new world, Let It Be. Again, here's a list of my references, some articles that I have used, and I have even more. I know, you're surprised. I have even more in another document too. So mine, again, is a work in progress, but I did want you to have an opportunity to kind of start picturing and visualizing what my world, Let It Be, is going to look like, and perhaps that will spark some creativity for you. I hope you enjoy making your world, and we will talk soon. But in the meantime, if you need me, go Guardian chat me, email me. I'm here for you. Talk soon. See ya.